fans, I think, can sense it right now.
To go, inbound to Weatherspoon with one. Weatherspoon puts up the three. It's no good!
The Liberty Flames are still dancing.
Fan the Flame to the biggest victory in school history.
Georgia to inbound, gets it to AC. Deep three, pull up. He banked it in! He banked it in!
Shot at the buzzer.
Good! It's good! It's good! It's one more!
Larry Blair reverse layup up and in, and he's fouled.
Man, you talk about degree of difficulty.
With two, Georgie at the buzzer. Got it! He got it!
Darius McGee, a game for the ages.
And Liberty wins 4 games in the Big South Tournament to take home the 2013 crown. Look at Bio Baxter Bell.
25 for Colin Porter.
Holmesley, splash.
Shiloh Robinson with an effort play.
And Liberty keeps on coming.
A huge basket by Kyle Rome.
Got it! Pacheco with the three.
Liberty, put your dancing shoes on.
Well, hey, what's going on? It's that time of the year. Nick, Kirby, Will, Matthews, joined by Coach McKay. Welcome to the first installment of the A Sea of Red basketball podcast presented by Jason Porter Real Estate and Ironclad Coffee. Will, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good. I don't like being in the middle like this between two legends, so I'm gonna have a little bit of a hard time. There we go. Put the legend in the middle here because he gets to be our guest of honor today, starting off hot with Coach McKay this year.
Yeah, well, legendary status that only goes to Kirby, and you can tell it's that time of year because we get to spend some time with Nick and yourself. So I hope your summer and your fall have been blessed.
Does that hype video coming in get you as hype as it does us?
Doesn't it though? Like, especially when you know all those names and it takes you right back to the moments and the scenes, or you don't hear the announcements during the game, but certainly fun to celebrate afterwards. So pretty good intro there, Nick.
Hopefully we'll add a few clips to that this year. How's that sound?
Yeah, no, we'd love that.
Well, Coach, wild offseason for Liberty basketball. You hit the transfer portal hard and heavy. A lot of exciting players that I know we're going to talk about a lot tonight, especially Jon Manson at the end of the show. We're going to kind of break down the roster a little bit more. But, Coach, just to start off with, this team, it's much different than a lot of teams from year to year. I know you do have a lot of players still coming back that I think are poised for some big growth. How do you kind of feel about the roster week and a day ahead of opening night?
Yeah, Nick, thanks for asking. If we could, though, man, I wanted to take a second while we can to just talk about Amir Abdur-Rahim, who tragically, suddenly passed away last weekend. And I'm not a big social media guy, but I certainly felt like he needed to be honored, and boy, has he been. We think about the accomplishments that he had as a professional, and he took really what was a dire program at Kennesaw, and he built it into an NCAA tournament program, one that obviously catapulted him to a job at South Florida, and then had great success in really relatively unprecedented time. And like we celebrate that, all that, and then all of a sudden you get this news that he's gone and gone too soon. And I wanted to say thank you to Amir and his family for sharing him with us. I can't imagine what his wife and his 3 children are going through now. And quite honestly, his team, the South Florida community, those who knew him and loved him at Kennesaw, it's unprecedented. And it speaks to just never taking a day for granted. And I know he's a great man of faith, and I'm sure he's in a better place. But at the same time, I just thought, man, Flames Nation, especially because of whom we represent and what we're about as a community. Just please remember his family in your prayers and celebrate a life well lived. And let's not forget who he is or was as a man, even though his presence we don't get to experience anymore.
Yeah, definitely. When I saw that news, really gripped you. Just wow. I know you guys had some great battles, and man, he did an incredible job at Kennesaw and looked to be well on the rise at USF. But seemed like you guys had a really healthy respect for each other and a good, fierce, competitive battles between you guys. And just definitely thanks for mentioning that, Coach. Definitely thoughts and prayers to his family. For just definitely a quick reminder that this is just a game that we all love very much.
Yeah.
But life is very short.
Yeah. No, thank you, Nick, and thank you. Will. Appreciate you guys supporting them and with your prayers, and I know our fan base will as well. Poor segue to your question about our roster, Nick. It's because of the newness of the landscape, I've been watching a bunch of these charity exhibition games, and all the coaches are saying the same thing. It's just harder when you're building a roster that is you're pulling from so many different places, and there's a handful of people that are still going solely the high school route, but very few. And because young people can capitalize on their name, image, and likeness, the propensity to transfer, especially from the mid-level to a higher level, is it's only going to continue to grow. So when the spring hit, the moment we lost in the Conference USA tournament and out in Huntsville, we went on the road recruiting. As a matter of fact, that next day I was in the gym watching Owen Aquino, who is the first junior college player that we've signed in 18 years. So signed or recruited. So I love what we were able to do in the portal. I think our assistant coaches did a fabulous job in identifying guys. And let me just say this too: the guys that we had that stayed, who remained Flames, they were phenomenal in the recruitment process. And I think that's what's unique about our group. They really care about the whole program and not just the individual opportunity that our program affords them. So we added a few more pieces, and really pleased about the character that we have. We didn't compromise the template. Like we try and get 5-star people, and I think we've done that.
Well, what is life like for you right now as a coach with just a handful of days before a season opener? What's the feeling? Is it anticipation? Is it nerves? Is it a little uncertainty with a little bit of roster turnover, or where are you at right now?
Well, the emotions, you mentioned them all. I haven't done this for as long as I have. I've really grown in trying to not be outcome based, but it'll be cliché-ish, but process oriented. But I think you got to have a plan for progress, and we're just trying to get better every day. You guys have heard me say before, we live by that saying. Our Tim Delina, who pastors Times Square Church in New York, he said, "What you do every day is more important than what you do every once in a while." So we're just trying to build on the disciplines and the habits that create a healthy, competitive basketball team, as well as some maturity and some growth in your faith as well, because I think those habits are applicable to every aspect of our lives. And but I tell you what, it's really fun being in that locker room. Our guys, they're a blast to be around. They really care, and we don't have a lot of bad practices. We feel like our group is really trending up. Now, look, we're going to be better in January, February than we are now, but we have a good basketball team, and our schedule is really tough. But I like our pieces, Will. So long-winded answer to your question. Everyone's anxious for the real games to start, right? We had a couple of secret scrimmages and all that, or should I say not so secret scrimmages. But I like the improvement that our guys have made since we started practice. We're 25 practices in.
Speaking of this schedule, I can't remember a time since I've been a Liberty student and now alum where the first 5 Division I games were as challenging 1 through 5 as your first 5. Like you don't have a whole lot of let's get into this, ease your way in with Valpo right off the bat, and then Seattle on the road. I mean that's a good team out in the WAC. And then obviously Florida Atlantic, everyone knows about them, but Charleston with now Chris Mack, I have a feeling that program, I see they're ranked 136th in KenPom to start the year. I have a feeling that's the one that at the end of the year, you're going to see them a lot higher than that. What's the challenges of just with such a new group having to jump right into the fire?
Yeah. It's you mentioned it, Nick. It's part of the unintended consequence of being decent. Like, really, this was the best we can do relative to, like, we always want to play high majors, the Power 5, whatever. Those chances they're few and far between now. So we went and we scheduled as many neutral games as we could because it's really hard to get people to come to Liberty Arena. So Seattle U is a really good program. That one on the road and Charleston on the road will be really tough test. But the neutrals, the aforementioned opener against Valpo, I saw they hung 95 on Ball State the other day in their secret scrimmage, and Roger Powell's a terrific person, really good coach. They've got a good staff, and they have a bunch of returners. And then when we jump into the field of 68 in Florida Atlantic, John Jacobs he's been an assistant at Gonzaga and Baylor, so all he knows is Final Fours, and they've got a really good program. And then shortly thereafter, I think we got a home game before that, and then we go to the Virgin Islands for the Paradise Jam. I think the top 4 seeds in there are Kansas State, UAB, McNeese, and then us. So, and we open with Louisiana, who's got a really good program. So we're really challenged in November. I think we're gone 20 of the 30 days of the month on the road, and so it'll be great to get into the arena the few times we do, and then most all of December.
Quick follow-up on that. So you're kind of in a weird situation here next week, and I doubt you're going to give me an answer here, but I'm gonna try to pry anyways. So you play Valpo, but then the next game after that is Florida Atlantic. So are you going to stick around in Ohio and scout Florida Atlantic live?
Well, Nick, word on the street is you're going to be there, and as much as you know about the game, I'm just going to rely on your scouting report. Like, I don't need to stay if I've got Nick Kirby, right, Will?
That's right. You've got all the stats you need right there at your fingertips when Kirby's in the house. Yeah. You spent a little time out west, and you guys are going out to Seattle. Would you rather be in Seattle or in the Virgin Islands? Which one is going to be the better trip for you guys?
Well, I actually went to school at Seattle Pacific University, and so our rival was Seattle U. So I lived there for a few years. That's where my wife is from. Actually, her brother still lives there. So I love Seattle, but come on, Will, the Virgin Islands or Seattle in November? Which one would you choose?
Hey, come on. Yeah, absolutely.
So, Coach, this is the lowest. I heard this on the tip-off show. The lowest that Liberty's been predicted in a preseason poll since 2015. Now, tied for 5th in the Conference USA. With all due respect to the Big South, is still quite a bit up. And I will also be sure to point out, in the much more important metric, Liberty's number 1 in the preseason in KenPom. So let's not forget that. But being 5th, like, obviously you're not going to sneak up on anyone. And I don't think anyone's going to be overlooking Liberty. But is it almost a little bit like it's kind of nice not to be at the top for once and kind of, slide in a little bit more?
Nick, honestly, the only time I ever think about it is when I'm asked about it. So I fill out my poll. I could care less where we're ranked. I think our guys could care less where we're ranked, but it is what it is. I do think the league is good. I haven't been through it one season now. I think it's a vastly underrated league. I think it's well coached. I think there's really talented players. There's a size and an athleticism component that surprised us a little bit. So, but look, our guys battled last year. I've had to answer a couple of different questions about I'll be asked in this way, well, last year was a disappointment. Yeah, it was a disappointment because we didn't advance to postseason like we have in the past yet. And we could have been in the CBI or the CIT, but like our guys have an expectation to get to the tournament or the NIT. And I think that's really healthy. So, and our guys battled. Like it wasn't because we weren't together, connected. The game is, there's a very small margin for error in individual games. And the one thing I do think we address is we'll be more competitive in the aforementioned categories, but I also think we're deeper. And that's really important is you got to have some different types of individuals that can help change the direction or the course of the game or stem the tide, if you will. So I love that about our group, but I'm not too concerned about the preseason stuff. I just want to keep getting better on the daily.
What is your philosophy, Coach, on kind of those secondary tournaments? I know there's been years in the past where probably could have played in it, chose to opt out of those. And then there have been some years where you have played in it. How do you kind of decide, if you're going to play in a postseason tournament like that?
Yeah, fair question. Well, we've actually been invited. This is year 10 since we've been back, and all but the first year we've been invited to postseason every year. The year we lost to Bellarmine at home in the ASUN semifinal, and the previous 2 seasons we've been invited. We just chose not to go. So was it 2 seasons? No, we went to the NIT the year before. So I think it's something now that, as I mentioned, like our guys and our fans, like they want us to play in the big dance or the NIT. If we had a young team and our guys want to do it, we'd certainly consider it. But we don't start the season with that goal in mind. We start the season really with trying to be the best version of ourselves that we can, and hopefully that happens on the court sometime in March.
All right, so Coach, I could ask you about every single transfer, but I won't do that. I'm gonna limit it to one. I made myself limited to one, and I have to ask you about Owen Aquino because this guy's film it's intoxicating. I mean, this guy, I think Liberty fans are really gonna love it. His style of play, such a really impressive passer was maybe my biggest takeaway. What do you think Liberty fans will love, and what can they expect out of Owen?
Yeah, Nick, you don't miss much. That kid is adorable, man. He's a great teammate. We were really fortunate to get him. His coach actually is now, his junior college coach is now the head coach at Tennessee Martin. So it was a little bit of a unique recruiting deal. But Owen, as a player, he cares about winning. There'll be nights when Owen could score 20, and there'll be nights when he has 6. But he'll do anything and everything that it takes for the team to win the game. He's just that kind of player. He's got great versatility. His teammates love playing with him. But honestly, Nick, I think the new guys, and I'll give you a less than 45-second sketch on the totality of them. Taelon Peter, transfer from Arkansas Tech, unbelievable dude, really good player. Again, really versatile in how we can use him. Jayvon Maughmer, the other Division II all-league player and MVP of the conference that we signed from Cedarville. He's a really good defender, and he can really score the ball. Those two have a wealth of experience, and you could tell in the scrimmages, like, okay, they've been there and they've done that. And then one that I think, well, Josh Smith is sitting out this year. We knew that going in, and I don't think there's much conversation about him, but he's going to be really good. And then Isaiah Ihnen, the transfer from Minnesota, man, he's going to be really good. He's 6'8", he's long, he's athletic, he can really shoot it. Those transfers combined with the guys that we have, not just the 3 starters, Zach, Caden, and Colin, but also the returners. Xander's gotten better, Gabriel's gotten better, and then our freshmen, Brett Decker and Will Gibson, one of which we may redshirt. I really, really like our group. I didn't mention Bryson Speller, Kirby Blair, but those 2 guys have improved as well. And Caillou, our 7-footer who redshirted last year. Did I get them all?
I think so.
That's pretty good. Hey, well, since Kirby got the question about the new players, let me ask about one returning player. Gabe McKay seemed like he just like always had all this energy and like really gave the team a spark every time he came in. Is he getting some one-on-one lessons from the coach, or, you know, how's his role going to expand this year?
Yeah, good question, Will. I forgot one, JC Shire. That dude's improved as well. So, yeah, Gabriel's had a really good offseason. I think he and Colin probably garnered the most improvement from with the way they played in the summer. We have a really deep backcourt. So, honestly, we could legit start, you know, 3 or 4 different guards, but I do think depth is a strength of ours. We don't play one-on-one anymore. I learned my lesson. Like the moment both he and Luke started getting close to beating me, I came up with a hamstring injury that's happened. It's been prevalent for about the last 10 years. So until I get that fixed, we don't play one-on-one.
Coach, my last question for you. Really do appreciate your time. You talked a little bit about Conference USA. Any takeaways from kind of the off-season Conference USA? I kind of felt like the biggest difference from me watching last year was there just was no easy teams. Like there was no cupcakes. And I know, like, you know, we try to respect everyone, but it's one of the other leagues you guys have been in. There was a couple teams every year that you felt like you could show up with 75% effort and probably get a win. There was no chance of that in Conference USA.
Yeah, no, well said, Nick. And I think part of it is when you go on the road in this league, you are making a long journey. So winning on the road is even more difficult. And that's the advantage for us that we get at home as well. We've been pretty good at home for the last few years. But like I mentioned, like I think the coaches in that league are really good. But I also think it's a league full of transfers and junior college players. So like the talent level is, I think it's really good. It'll be another competitive race. Like I get La Tech, and they got Bacho. He's terrific. They've got a really good team. I think Chris Munge at Sam Houston does a fabulous job. Somebody that you got to watch out for every year is Nick McDevitt and his Blue Raiders. They returned a bunch. Wesson's back from sitting out a year. Hank will do a great job at Western Kentucky. And then the people that, you know, you don't hear get talked about as much, like New Mexico State, UTEP, they're really good. Like, especially UTEP, that group, they returned to everyone. And except, I can't remember the point guard's name, but everyone else stayed when they had such a good year and they had a bunch of options. And Jeremy Ballard does a good job. Petway at Kennesaw is going to be a tough out. This is a really good league. And it's only going to get better with Delaware and Missouri State coming in. I think our work's cut out for us, and it should be that way. Like if you win the conference, you want to be in a conference that it's competitive enough that if you're fortunate enough to advance, that you won't be overwhelmed when you get to the NCAA tournament. So I think it's going to be a fun race, and we're just going to again try and get back to where we're competing for the top.
Well, Coach, really do appreciate your time. We're counting down till 5 p.m. A week from tomorrow, Monday. Looking forward to Flames basketball getting underway.
Yeah, you guys, thanks. I love the way you cover us. You do a phenomenal job. Now, who's coming on after me? Which players do you have?
Caden and Colin.
The dynamic duo. All right.
Sons of Thunder.
That right there is a stellar backcourt. Have fun with them.
All right, thanks, Coach.
See you guys.
All right, we're going to have a quick word from Ironclad Coffee, and then we'll be right back with Colin Porter and Caden Matheny.
Virginia's best and most Flames-friendly coffee comes from Ironclad Coffee Roasters. Ironclad roasts and serves up their beautiful beans at 2 cafes in Richmond, where you can enjoy their craft-roasted specialty beans from anywhere in the country by visiting www.ironcladcoffee.com. Place your order there, and it will be directly shipped to your doorstep. Whenever you find yourself in the capital of the Commonwealth, pay them a visit at one of their 2 cafes in the Richmond area. Ironclad's owners, the O'Rourke family, are proud Flames Club members and season ticket holders, and now they're pleased to sponsor the podcast from CRA. Hop over to www.ironcladcoffee.com now to get your Virginia's best specialty coffee headed your way.
All right, we are live now with Cade Matheny. I think Colin Porter's going to be joining us here in just a minute. There's Colin. Fellas, 8 days, I think, if I'm doing my Liberty math right, from the tip-off of the season. Caden, we'll start with you. How excited are you to get the season underway?
Yeah, super excited. It's been a long summer, long fall to get to this point. Been some long days with practices and big time battles of playing against each other. So I think we're ready to actually play against someone else here soon. So pretty exciting.
Colin?
What up? How we doing?
Doing good. How excited are you to get this season underway?
Man, I think Caden he spoke for us all right there. I mean, it's been a long off season. We got 7 new guys. Practice has been a little bit harder, just being able to just play with one another, see what everyone's strength is. And, we're competing at a high level right now, which is really fun in practice, but being able to translate that to against other teams, other opponents, that would be really special.
Well, let me just dive in here, fellas. It's good to have y'all. You guys coming off great seasons, but Conference USA was a new experience for both of you guys. What did you guys learn about the conference? What did you guys learn about the team and yourselves and the way that you guys play?
I think that we just, the main thing about, us is knowing that we went into every game thinking we can win. In Conference USA, everyone talks about the length, athleticism, which is true, but, we had chances to win a lot of those games, which is, something that we look back on now. It's all right, we lost some key contributors, but we added a few more guys, and, as long as that, we have me, G, Caden, Zach, Spell, Xander, and JC another year in the program, as long as Caillou and Curtis, the 2 freshmen. So, I mean, we're looking forward to Conference USA and what we can do, but we know what to expect a little bit more now.
Yeah, I think going into Conference USA, didn't really know what to expect. It was new for all of us, me coming from the MAC and then the returners coming from the ASUN. The biggest test was just every game was just a battle. There is no off night when you're playing in Conference USA, and then playing on the road is tough. Hard to win on the road in Conference USA. Really good environments on the road, and teams in Conference USA, I don't know why, but they like to shoot a little better at home as well. But like Colin said, we were in every game. Going into every game, we were confident, thought we could win, and honestly, probably should have won most of them. So that gives us a lot of confidence going into this year for sure.
Yeah, it feels like you guys had 5 or 6 games that really could have gone the other way and still ended up with the 4 seed. So I feel like maybe a lot of things went wrong and you guys were still right there. So yeah, definitely excited to see the new season here. So a lot of new players, a lot of new faces. Kate, I know you came in last year to a whole team of new faces. Colin, you were in your second year last season, but what's kind of the adjustment been like with so many new players? I imagine there's probably going to be some new players, probably even in the starting lineup in the regular rotation. What's just kind of the adjustment, kind of been like with all these new faces, something that Liberty hasn't really seen that much of, especially out of the transfer portal before?
Yeah, it's really unique. We know that Coach McKay, he'll never waver from what we really believe here at Liberty, and that's train the champions for Christ. And so a lot of our new guys, man, they all have the character in the room that is special, and it's something that fits into our culture. So that just gives us a little bit of selflessness coming into it. Not even played a game yet, but just knowing that we're all out there for the right reasons. And if we have new guys in the starting lineup, and that gives us the best chance of winning, we're here to do that. That's just the character in the room, and that's the the culture that Coach has built. So, the new guys, it was needed, and the old guys got better, and we're just excited for it.
Yeah, I think for me being a transfer, obviously, it's easy for me to have that different perspective of how these new guys may come in thinking what's going to happen, how their role is going to be, how they're going to transition into playing with us. So, and also losing a guy like Kyle Rode, it takes a lot of us to become his huge voice. And I think what's unique about this group this year is we have a lot of leaders and a lot of voices that each one of us lean on, and it's not just one voice. And it's pretty special. Even the new guys, they've grown the confidence and being leaders themselves. And I think that's just a testament to the returners that we have, giving them that confidence, and also the coaches bringing in the right guys, like Colin alluded to. So it's a special group. Really excited to see what we can do in this first game and the rest of the year. But really great, really good group. And like Colin said, it's just we're brothers in Christ, man. And I think that's what sets us apart.
Yeah. Caden, it feels like you are kind of the new guy. I mean, I know you've already got a year under your belt, but I mean, I think, you guys kind of touched on it, like as far as Conference USA goes, margin of error is very slim as it was last year. And, some stout defenses in Conference USA, some top, 75, 100 teams in there. What's kind of been the point of emphasis offensively for the team in the off season?
Yeah, I mean, we all know that Coach McKay's offense is shoot a good amount of threes, and hopefully, we have a lot of great shooters, so we're gonna hit them. But some nights it's not gonna fall. So I think the big message for us right now is like, don't settle. Like a lot of times we play outside of the defense, and this year we're thinking about just not settling, just attack the paint, touch the paint, and then that's whenever the outside 3-pointers and everything it'll just show for itself. But as well, just like new personnel that we're talking about, it'll give us new ways of attacking defenses. I mean, we know we got Zach Cleveland back, and he was one of the best points per possession whenever he got the ball in the post. So we got a lot of weapons, and I think versatility will be a key factor for us on the offensive end as well as the defensive.
Yeah, Colin pretty much hit everything, but also I think we're a lot more versatile this year when it comes to the offensive end. Just with some of the new guys that we brought in and the returners just getting better and crafting their game in a better way, that this year we just have more options when it comes to whether playing inside out or outside in. And we've been really working on that, but I think that's the biggest thing I've noticed throughout the summer and fall is just the amount of options, more options that we have. So it should be good.
All right, I know you guys aren't allowed to divulge in anything that actually happened in these secret scrimmages, but I know it was reported that you scrimmaged against Virginia Tech and James Madison. What was maybe how is that experience for us folks who've never got to go to a secret scrimmage? How does that compare to a regular game? And was there any big takeaways for you guys, that you feel like you learned about yourselves in those scrimmages?
Yeah, man, those scrimmages, it's a little weird. It's a secret scrimmage, and there's no one in those arenas. So it's like you're just there, and it's like you're competing, but as well, it's kind of a practice. It's kind of a game. Like you're playing against someone else. So obviously, you want to win, compete, and get your very best. But the scrimmages were great for us. It just allowed us to learn what we needed to work on. We scrimmaged early this year, which is really, really good for us. We scrimmaged Virginia Tech maybe 2 weeks ago, and then JMU a week ago. So that gives us 2 full weeks after our second scrimmage to really work on and hone down on the things that we need to work on as a team on offense and defense, and as well just we had a few clips of just like how our bench was. Like we had hit a shot, man, and our bench is going crazy. But that's the kind of energy that we need in a secret scrimmage, because I mean, you never know. Like we play in Virgin Islands, there might not be no one in the fans or no one in the crowd. So it's really cool to work on the things that will happen in the season.
Yeah, I think it's funny. Colin says no one in the stands. I get flashbacks to my freshman year of the COVID season. I was fortunate enough to play in that season, so it's kind of funny to think back about that. But like Colin said, the biggest takeaway I took was just how connected we were with seven new guys. You never know what to expect, and just pretty astounding and amazing just how connected we are with the first scrimmage, and then even more connected with the second. And it was nice just to see just the improvement from scrimmage 1 to scrimmage 2, which was kind of expected. But it gave us a lot of confidence with what we could do with the improvement from each scrimmage.
Yeah. Hey, last one for me. let's say Coach McKay, you guys come in on a practice and he says it's 2 versus 2, Caden and Colin. You get to pick your opponents. Who are you picking?
I would probably say Caden go to the other team. No, I'm just kidding. No, I really don't know. The cool thing about me and Caden is like we know that we're undersized guards, but we'll compete and we'll claw and try to win the game. We might not always get the outcome that we want, but we'll compete and we'll scrap and try to get the desired outcome. But it's really cool. I'm not gonna give any names like who we'd play against, but just knowing that Caden's on my team, it's really awesome, and the friendship we've built, man, it's incredible, and he knows that, and we talked about it on road trips and everything. But yeah, I love going to battle with him, and he knows that.
Doesn't matter who it is. I got confidence if I got Colin Porter next to me.
There you go.
I love it. All right, I got 2 more questions. First one will be fun, and then I'll end it with a little bit more of a serious one. All right, so I'm not going to say what game are you most excited about, but maybe what road trip city are you guys most looking forward to on your schedule this year?
I'm excited to go to Charleston. I know Caden loves Charleston. He's hyped it up, and I'm really excited to go there. We get a few days there for the Field of 68, so I'm excited to go there. That's probably my most looking forward to that one the most.
If you know Colin and I, we take full advantage of road trips that we get to be in warm weather, and we may have a cap on a minute restriction of how long we can lay out in the sun, but I might have to go over that in the Virgin Islands. So Virgin Islands would be the one I'm most excited for.
Very cool. All right. Well, last thing for me, and then we'll let you guys go. Really do appreciate your time. You guys are really jumping right into the fire with this schedule. The first 8 games, Division I games, you have one D7 school in the middle there, but every other game, I mean, is a legit Division I team. I think everyone's going to be in the top 200 in Ken Palm except for Valpo, who's just barely outside of it, and all signs point to them being a pretty good team this year. How much intensity has it kind of been leading up to the start, just knowing that you have to really be ready when the season gets underway?
I believe this is my 3rd year here, and my first year we played a non-D1 first game, and last year I believe we did as well. So it's a little bit of a different vibe. It's cool. You don't have like a game to get under your belt right away, especially for the new guys. That'll be something different that I was thankful for. My freshman year, I had a non-D1 before we played a really good Alabama team, but I think it'll be really good for us to get tested early, to see the things we need to work on, build character in the room. It'll lead us to a better ending for the season. So it's something to look forward to, not to shy away from, and we're ready for it.
Yeah, I think last year we played in the Myrtle Beach tournament, in which did really well in and played some really good teams, and played Charlotte. And I think from me being a transfer coming in, going against those guys and seeing how well we did and how well I did within the system, it was a confidence booster going into the latter part of the season. So just hopeful that it can be like that for the new guys. And I think it will. I'm really excited for this schedule and for this season, and should be a good one.
All right, fellas. Well, can't wait to get it started next Monday, 5 p.m. against Valparaiso. Looking forward to it. Thanks again, guys. We'll catch up again soon.
Appreciate you guys.
Appreciate it.
All right, we're going to have a quick word from Jason Porter. Be right back with Jon Manson.
Well, hey, everybody. My name is Jason Porter. I'm with Legacy Realty and Development, and it's been a great partnership here with Sea of Red lately. I was with Liberty Athletics as the Associate Athletic Director for Sports Medicine, so took care of all of the healthcare needs and coordinated that with a fantastic staff at Liberty in the athletic department, of course, for about 5 or 6 years, and then moved into real estate full-time and with Legacy Realty and Development. And it's just been a great pleasure to continue to stay connected with my Liberty University family and the athletics family as well. I've been enjoying serving them. A lot of the graduate assistants and some of the staff that I hired has come back now and has been using me for residential services, which I really appreciate. But certainly do residential real estate as far as buying and selling of homes, of course. And then also we have a strong commercial presence as well. So commercial real estate, obviously a very, very different animal than is residential. But whether it's buying and selling commercial properties or just the leasing of properties, we can help with that as well. So it's been a great opportunity to service our commercial clients as well. And then certainly on the investment front too, a number of folks who have discovered the power of passive income through real estate and investing in real estate with rental properties or fix and flips, those kind of things. And so great joy to serve my clients in that capacity as well. The other thing that I would add too is just a very, very full Rolodex at this point of contractors and subs and just different professional contacts that I've made through the years. So if I can ever provide any of those folks to you and all of a sudden you need a plumber or an electrician or a contractor to build your deck, whatever, I'd certainly be glad to give you access to that Rolodex and those references as well. Because a lot of times it's not exactly who you know, it's who you know that knows how to do the job well. And so I would be glad to provide those services for you as well. So love Flames Nation, love taking care of my Liberty family. And if there's ever anything I can do for you, my contact information is all right here on the screen. And I would love to be a service to you and yours. Thanks so much.
Jon Manson, the Godfather. What's up, John?
What's going on, guys? How we doing? It's basketball season. It's exciting. Glad to be back with you guys and looking forward to a fun season.
How does it feel to be in between two good-looking guys right now?
I know. I just brought the viewership levels down with my ugly mug going up on here, right?
No, not at all. Not at all, John. All right, well, it's that time of the year. It's time to talk some hoops. John, I believe you have an article coming out in the morning breaking down the roster, but we're going to give you a little sneak peek behind the curtain of Jon Manson's projected lineup based on, his inside sources and scoops that only John can get. Not official. This is not official, but this is the projection here. So let's go ahead and run through the projected starting lineup. I know when we were talking about in the group chat, kind of made nice to put it on pen and paper and have some faces with it. So obviously we have Porter and Matheny. I think that's pretty obvious. Those two guys will be starters. And then Zach Cleveland. But Jayvon Maughmer, hopefully I said that right, out of Cedarville University. Prolific three-point shooter. John, you believe he will probably be starting at least to start the season. And then Owen Aquino, as I mentioned earlier, talking with McKay, the player that I'm just really, really excited about. I cannot watch his highlights enough. I think I probably quadrupled the views on YouTube. So whoever made that, you're welcome. But John, we'll get to the bench here in a second, but your overall takeaways from kind of this, at least your projected starting lineup here coming into the season.
Yeah, and I think you've heard from Coach McKay tonight and then also previously in his media rounds that he's made so far in the preseason is he's really got a lot of flexibility, versatility. I think we'll see multiple starting lineups throughout the year, especially in November, December, the non-conference schedule as he and the staff and the team kind of figures out, what they have and who they are. Right. I mean, you got a lot of new faces, a lot of new people that are going to be coming in. And these are guys, again, they're new to Liberty, but they're veterans, right? I mean, Jayvon, played for 4 years at Cedarville, was Conference Player of the Year. Owen, a JUCO kid, Conference Player of the Year at his level. Same thing with Taelon Peter, D2 Conference Player of the Year. Owen was an All-American at the JUCO level. And then also Isaiah, he, played in the Big Ten. So a lot of veteran experience, but you still basketball is very much a game of chemistry, and you got to figure out, who works good together, who's better coming off the bench, who's better in a starting lineup, that sort of thing. So I do think Colin, Caden, Zach, and Owen are kind of locked in at least night one as starters. I think that fifth one is maybe a little bit up in the air. I would probably lean, obviously, with Jayvon tonight right now, but I think it could flip a little bit depending on who we're playing too. Like I think Taelon Peter is another guy. We'll talk about him more in a minute, but he's another guy that could slide in and kind of fit that same spot, that same role. But a lot of veteran guys in on this team and in this lineup, and a lot more length, which I know we'll talk more. And that's the biggest storyline, right, coming into the season is the remake of the roster and really done with length in mind.
Yeah, you look at Cleveland and Aquino. Aquino is 6'8", Cleveland's 6'7", but I think both guys, if you watch them play a lot bigger than that. I mean, these guys are actual big guys. And both guys, if they're in the same lineup together, are going to be two of the better. I don't know if there's going to be a better passing big man duo out there than these two guys. Now, for me, when you have two guys, I know Aquino is a capable three-point shooter from what we know, but I don't think that's going to be the part of his game that's going to stand out. So it's going to be very crucial that Porter and Matheny and whoever's still in that third spot really can hit threes and open threes, because I do think you're going to get a lot more open looks, hopefully, than you did last year.
Yeah, I agree. And you talked about them, Zach and Owen being really good passing big men. They're also really good ball handlers. Like this entire lineup, like anybody that gets a rebound can get it and go. And I think we might see a little bit more of that, a little bit more of the transition game, which will be a lot of fun. You got a lot more, we talked about the length, but the athleticism as well too. Owen's game is really Nick, feel free to jump in on this from watching some of his game film, but seems very similar to that of Zach's. I mean, he can get the ball and go. He can pass sometimes more than shoot, right? He kind of looks to pass first sometimes, but he can also attack the basket. He can get his own shot. He can take the outside shot, like you said, not really a strength of his game, maybe not. But, that's another thing we've heard from the coaching staff too during the offseason is Zach has really focused on improving. He said it himself in his press conference earlier this offseason that he's focused on shooting, right, in the offseason, the three-pointer and at the free throw line. And I do think at the end of the season, those two will kind of be 1A and 1B in terms of, maybe not scoring averages, because I think Caden will be up in there too. But as far as like, what's the stat I'm looking for, Nick? Usage rate. Their usage rate would be near the top of the team, in Zach and Owen. But again, a lot of pieces that we can mix and match a little bit with.
Yeah, it seems like Coach McKay's recruiting here addressed kind of a need for that longevity. I mean, offensive rebounds, we were dead last in the conference, but I don't expect much to change there because McKay's system is that he wants his guys to be back ready to play defense, right? But we're just kind of middle of the pack as far as defensive rebounds and rebound margin. So it seems like with Aquino, Cleveland, Maughmer, kind of a big guy for a guard there. It kind of gives you that longevity. And also, I don't know if we're going to talk about this, but we also have a very, very tall man in Caillou. Don't know how much he's going to play. Don't know what kind of language barrier is still there. But, if there's a situation where somebody's at the free throw line and you absolutely need a rebound, he might be worth sticking in there for a couple of plays here and there.
And I do think maybe one of our weaknesses, at least on paper going into the season, is our depth in the front court, especially, you heard Coach McKay talk about Josh Smith is out for the year with an injury, the transfer from Stetson, 6'9" guy. That will be, I think, a big impact player next year. But you got Zach and Owen, and then behind them you got Isaiah Ihnen from Minnesota. But I'm not sure you got anybody else outside of those three that you really, are really forwards or post players. You have a Bryson and some others, Bryson Spell, but those three are ones that you expect to be in the rotation. And if you were to have an injury, hopefully not, or foul trouble in a given game, who's going to be that person that Coach McKay can trust. Do you go small? Do you play a Jayvon in the 4, so to speak, or play with 3 smaller guards? So I think that's maybe one of the weaknesses just on paper. You heard Coach McKay earlier said too, right, that he thinks he's got a lot of depth at the guard spot, and I agree with him. Obviously, he knows his team better than I do. But Colin, Caden, Jayvon, Taelon. You also got not to jump ahead in our discussion of the depth, but you also got Gabriel McKay, who I think he played every game last year. And then you heard Coach McKay said he's probably going to redshirt 1 freshman. Well, the one that he's not going to redshirt is Brett Decker, another guard. So I think you got a lot of depth there, but maybe the question mark is the depth in the front court.
Yeah, it's funny you're talking about Aquino and his passing ability, and he's kind of similar to Zach Cleveland, because whenever I see a new player, I always try to think back. All right, who's the best comp of a Liberty player? And I was racking my brain on Aquino. I was I don't think there's been anyone like. It's maybe Alex McLean, but that's not a perfect one. And it dawned on me the best comp is Zach Cleveland. It's already on the roster. They're really 2 almost unicorns in terms of players that we've ever seen for Liberty. So, and to your point about the rebounding, Will, last year Liberty was still really good in rebounding rate, because I always like to I feel like you always have to look at things at rate, because you have to remember Liberty's is one of the slowest teams in the country, so they're always going to have lower numbers of rebounds. And
they were above
per
average.
Game.
Yeah.
They were actually 41st in the country in rebounding rate defensively. Now, that sounds really good, but in 2023, the best team in Liberty history, I say that tongue in cheek, they were number 1 in the country. So they went from 1st in the country to 41st. And if you really look back through the run of Liberty's dominance from 2020, 2021, 2022, Liberty was 4th, 16th, 18th, and 1st. So, a lot of that's Conference USA, but that was one of the Liberty was still really good, but Liberty, in order, as long-winded way of saying this, in order to be the best version of themselves, Liberty's going to be really bad in certain things like offensive rate, but they want to be elite in certain things, in defensive rebounding is one of them. So I do think, and even a guy like Maughmer, he's a pretty big guy. I think he's going to get a lot of rebounds as a guard, and some of these other guys that they're going to get into the rotation. But fellas, any other takeaways from the starting lineup, or we'll move to the bench?
I have a question for John. Kirby likened Aquino to Zach Cleveland. Have you heard or any kind of comparisons to Maughmer like that? Is there a guy in Liberty's past you maybe could compare him to?
Yeah, and I hate to put this out there because he was really good, but the first guy that kind of pops in my mind is Anthony Smith.
Yeah!
Come on, are we on the same page? Yeah. So I'm not saying Anthony Smith was a preseason all-conference player his senior year and averaged 20 points a game, I believe, one year. But I think Jayvon has that makeup to him. Now there's a lot more talent. No offense to any of the guys on Smith's later year teams, but Maughmer's got a lot more talent around him. He's not going to be asked to be the guy. There might be nights that he is the guy, and maybe he does score 20 on a given night. That's who he was at Cedarville, but he's not going to be asked to be that here. He's going to be asked to be more of a role player, hit an open shot, play good defense, that sort of thing, be a veteran leader on the court, and affect the game in other ways. But that is the first kind of comp that comes to mind is he's got the same length as Anthony Smith. And you remember Smitty played the 4 a lot of times in his Liberty career. I think Maughmer could do that. We were just talking about, maybe the depth behind Zach and Owen up front isn't there. Maybe not. We'll see. So he could slide to the 4. I wouldn't be shocked at all, depending on who we're playing. Goes back to that versatility comment that Coach McKay's talked about. But I think Anthony Smith is probably the best. You got to remember, Jayvon shot 40% from 3 at Cedarville. So he's a guy that can knock down the shot outside. He can also attack the basket. and he's also got good length at that position too.
Yeah, that's funny. We're right on the same page there, John. Yeah, a little bit different in terms of the first thing. Their size is very similar. Like Smith was 6'6", Maughmer was 6. Smith was 6'5", Maughmer was 6'6". The big thing that I see is I saw Maughmer laying in layups when he was open. Like Anthony Smith was never laying in a layup; he was going for the big dunk. So I don't think the athleticism of Maughmer jumps off the page like Smith, but I think probably he's a better shooter. Anthony Smith shot the ball really well, but I think Maughmer's a little bit more of a pure shooter. But they could both create their own shot off the dribble with that size, and Conference USA is really crucial and something that, to be quite honest, there's going to be just possessions that for whatever reason break down. And it felt like if Liberty got last year, it felt as if you have anything to add to this, I feel like when Liberty got down in like 6 or 7 seconds and the possession wasn't working, there was no one that could get a shot off. Like there was no Darius McGee cheat code. If they didn't run a good set offensively, they were screwed. And you have a couple guys and Maughmer could be one of those guys with his size that can bail you out of some really bad possessions.
No, I think you said it well there. And again, a conference player of the year, guys scored 20 points, averaged 20 points a game last year. So I think you got a lot of guys that could be that person. Colin's a guy that could hopefully continue to grow in that role, and think Caden too. And we saw Zach. Zach was the guy that the coaching staff last year at the end of the year, they tried to get the ball in his hands for the last shot. So we'll see. It's a lot of new faces. It's one of those things we might not know until January or February who that guy is.
Yeah. And Maughmer from Chillicothe, Ohio, going to get to play game one in Xenia, which is right down the road from Cedarville University, literally like I think 20 or 30 minutes away. So be exciting for him in game one. All right, here's John's projected bench. Obviously, we have Gabriel McKay, who, as John mentioned, played in every single game. I certainly expect he'll play a pretty big role this year. Brett Decker Jr., really exciting freshman, probably the one freshman that's going to see minutes. Taelon Peter, a transfer, is Arkansas State.
Mm-hmm.
Arkansas State can really score the ball. And then Isaiah Ihnen, you said Ihnen, and then McKay said, and I'm a little thrown off. Kind of feels like maybe the wild card on this roster, because he had some pretty big games at Minnesota, but also was completely non-existent at times. How does that transfer over? We've seen some other players from high majors that have come over, and you think, they played at a high major, and it just doesn't work out, where other times, they go down to another level and they just dominate. He feels like the real wild card to me.
Yeah, I think Isaiah is a guy that we don't have anybody else on the roster that is at least in his mold, right? 6'8", 6'9", long, athletic. Like you said, he played in the Big Ten, and he was really riddled by injuries during his career at Minnesota. I mean, if you look back to some of his early, first couple of seasons, again, a veteran. I mean, I think this is either his 5th or 6th season playing college basketball. So he's a veteran, he's got a lot of experience, but injury riddled career so far. But if you look back at some of his early career, stats and some of those numbers, he was a solid role player in the Big Ten as a freshman and as a sophomore. I think he lost a full season due to an injury and lost big chunks of other seasons due to those injuries. But again, 6'8", 6'9", long body, athletic, but he can also step out and shoot the three too. Like, if you look at his highlights online, every one of them includes him shooting threes. So he's a guy that when he comes on the floor alongside a Zach or an Owen, who we know those guys, maybe their strength is not the 3-point shooting. He can do that. I think he can also be a little bit of a rim protector. Zach maybe isn't that. I think Owen could be more of a rim protector than Zach is or showed last year or his first 2 years. I think Isaiah is another guy that could help in that role too. But again, I'm really excited when you look at these guys. Will can speak for this too. We had, I think it was the entire basketball team showed up to one of the tailgates here a couple of weeks ago at the football game. And when we get off the bus this year, we're not going to look like we're outmanned and outsized. Like, we look the part. We look legit. And, certainly Jayvon's part of that. Owen, Zach, and Isaiah obviously as well too. So I'm really excited to see some of these guys on the floor.
Yeah, stopped by the tailgate, saw some of those guys out there. Didn't get to meet or speak briefly to them, but just laying eyes on them. A couple of guys sitting around in lawn chairs, and their knees were like up to their chins, sitting down. So just some tall guys, real big guys. Ihnen, believe this will be his 6th season. So veteran guy, but he was a key role player, as you said, for Minnesota. And really looking forward to, last year, to your point, John, we were, you're watching on TV or you're watching at Liberty Arena, and just the size size difference is the notable thing about watching a game. And this year you're going to see some bigger guys. And when McKay gets that opportunity to go with a bigger lineup, you've got some guys on there that can shoot the 3 ball.
Yeah, I think Taelon and Isaiah are, just to get more on topic here with the projected bench, I think they're the first 2 guys off the bench. I think they're 2 guys that could easily be starters, and they may start some games depending on how the early season plays out. Taelon as a guard, right? He could play the 3. I also wouldn't be shocked if he, if depending on who we're playing, we see a lot of minutes with him alongside either or Caden and Colin, to maybe, offset some of that, having 2 smaller guards in your backcourt on the floor at the same time. So, and again, Taelon, 6'4", 6'5", he's long, conference player of the year, Division II, Arkansas State. I think they won their conference tournament too, one of the top teams in that conference. But he's got some he's got some hops, man. He's got some athleticism. Might be the most athletic kid on the team. He is married too, so continuing the tradition of having some married men on the team, like Kyle Roden most recently, and some others. But no, I think those 2 will be the first 2 off the bench. And like I said, I think they could also start at times too. I think we will see them start at times as well this year too.
Yeah, and back to Aquino for a second, just being the junior college guy. I did some research on this because he was an All-American, and I was kind of just curious. Okay, All-American to JUCO, how does that actually translate for guys that transfer up? And from what I found of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the 7 of the 8 from the year prior that transferred to D1. 7 of the 8 averaged over 10 points a game in Division I. So it did translate, pretty well. And a couple of these, Don McHenry, who we saw at WAQ, Western Kentucky, was one of those guys who clearly was a big reason for their success last year. And one of the guys was at UAB. So 2 of the guys were actually at UAB, both averaging. One averaged 19 and one averaged 11. And UAB was a really good team last year. So, you definitely can have some success, and the only one that didn't have success was at Missouri in the SEC. So it was kind of just interesting to see. But yeah, Peter, he also started his career at Tennessee Tech. Mm-hmm. So he was in Division I. So it's kind of nice that he had that Division I talent, transferred down to get more minutes and has worked his way back up. So you have a nice balance. But yeah, I mean, you put him at 6'4" in that 2 slot with one of Matheny or Porter, and this is a very different looking Liberty team than we've seen in a long time.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I think you'll also see some lineups with, the 3 big guys too, Isaiah, Owen, and Zach. And,
wow.
And you're talking about 3 guys, 6'7" plus. Again, we haven't seen that. Like that just hasn't happened. I just want to touch on G and Brett Decker as well too before we move on. But again, we talked about already, Gabriel played every game last year. He carved out a nice role for him. I mean, he was probably a guy that many of us, myself included, kind of counted him out. Like, he probably won't play much. But no, and a lot of it was due to his hustle, his defensive play as well too. He's not going to make mistakes when he's on the floor. So I think he'll have a role this year as well too, and can fill in there in the backcourt. And Decker, I thought both Decker and Will Gibson, the other true freshmen, were shoo-ins to be redshirted this year. But all throughout the summer and continuing up through now, I continue to hear really good things about him. Now, again, he's behind Colin and Caden, two very veteran guards who have a lot of playing time in their past. So it's going to be hard for him to play a lot. But the fact that Coach McKay is not expecting to redshirt him entering the season, when you got those guys and Taelon Peter and Jayvon Maughmer, just shows you how much or how good Decker could be. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. He could get on the floor, early in the season, first few games, and maybe he's just not quite ready, and so they pull him back. Or he could get on the floor, and it's like, man, we got to keep this guy on the floor. We can't keep him off the floor, right? And so I'm really intrigued. And just as a little teaser, you mentioned, Nick, the article coming out Monday morning. It's about a 2,500-word preview on the Liberty Flames team, breaking down everything, the schedule, the roster, the rotation. And I have Decker as one of our 3 potential breakouts for this team. I think he could end up not having a huge role, but I think he has a chance, just from what I've heard, to be an impact player this year.
Have you heard of any of these guys? We've talked about the offense, their height, flexibility,
versatility.
Yes. Sorry. Thank you. Couldn't find the word. Have you heard anything about their defensive skills, or kind of what they're looking like as far as that goes?
I think that may be the one question mark with Decker right now. Is it seems like people, nobody can stay in front of him, but maybe he can't keep anybody in front of him on the other side. So that might be one of the weaknesses in his game right now. Again, he's young, right? Just coming into college. So, going up against that level of speed and talent that he's defending may be an issue. Again, Taelon, Isaiah, I think he's probably one of the better one-on-one defenders we have. He knows the pack line in and out, right? I mean, he lives with it, right? But I think Isaiah, Taelon, and Jayvon will all be positive additions on the defense. Owen as well. I think they'll all be positive additions on the defensive end of the floor. Decker maybe still trying to figure that out, but we'll see how it goes once they get into some live action as well.
Kirby, can you go back to that slide of the projected starters? All right. Look at Aquino, man. He just looks tough. Like it just looks intimidating. And I know he's from Spain, so El Parece Duro, man. He just looks like he's about to rip somebody's head off. I love it.
I feel like we need one of those guys. Liberty has needed that rip your head off guy.
Yeah. I love Kyle Rode, and Kyle Rode was intensely competitive in many spots, but also he looked like he wanted to give you a hug and shake your hand. You know what I mean? So, but we love you, Kyle, and we miss you.
And shout out to Kyle, having a lot of success overseas right now.
Kyle and Darius too, man. Darius is lighting up. Yeah. I knew he would. I knew once he went overseas, he would score 20+ every night, and he's just got that talent. But no, I'm with you. And when you're talking about that, Will, I'm immediately thinking back to it was the New Mexico State game, right? When Shiloh got cold cocked. It's like, where's Owen when you needed him then, right?
Where's the fire? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, New Mexico State's getting for it this year.
Yeah.
Watch out, Aggies. All right. Talking about the schedule. We've talked a lot already about how tough it is right out of the gate. Still Liberty projected 29. This is what's so fascinating is you look, Liberty's projected to lose 3 of the first 4 Division I games, and then only has 3 more projected losses the rest of the season. Now, remember, as I've said many times before, that only adds up to, I think, 7, but they're actually projecting 9 because some of these games that you're 51%. If you have a whole bunch of those, you'll lose a few of those. But I think it's important when you look at the schedule to have some perspective here early in the year. If this team starts 3-2 in Division I, that is a great start. If this team starts 2-3, I don't think it's that bad of a start. They're projected, for start 1-3. And remember last year, I mean, season couldn't have started any better. You win that Myrtle Beach tournament. And, I think Liberty kind of surprised a lot of teams because Liberty was, a lot more experienced than a lot of other teams, where this year it feels like it could very well be the exact opposite, where last year it felt like they came out guns a-blazing with the, all that, continuity and all the things that makes the Liberty program great, but it kind of waned as the other teams kind of caught up to Liberty at the end of the year. Whereas this year it could be the exact opposite. Now, also, college basketball is weird, and the transfer portal, there's just so much randomness. Liberty could also be the team that just is the Southern Miss that comes out of nowhere that kind of surprises everyone. More often than not, it'll probably be a up and down first couple months of the season for me, where there's going to be nights where you feel great about this team. There's going to be other nights where you really don't feel very good about this team.
Yeah, I think it's a good discussion and something we need to remind ourselves as, we're about a week out from the season starting. And that first really month of the year is going to be tough. Like, they don't play at home really at all. I mean, your first Division I home game is December 7th. So you're going to play 8, 9, 10 games before you even have a D1 home game. So it's tough. I mean, they're going to be logging lots of miles, playing out in Seattle. They're going to be playing in Ohio. They're going to be playing in the Virgin Islands and South. I mean, they're going to be all over the place playing against some good teams. And even opening night against Valpo, I know Valpo didn't have a great year last year. Honestly, they weren't very good at all, but they could be. Again, you said it, Nick, like, we don't know year to year. You think back to that Southern Miss game a few years ago, they weren't expected to be any good, but they turned out to be a really good team, a postseason team. They might have won 20 games that year. I don't remember, but they had a really strong start to that year. And they came into Liberty Arena and beat us and jumped out to a big lead. And remember, we had that great comeback. So you never know. There could be one of those on the schedule early. It could be a Valpo. I don't expect it. They don't have a ton of transfers, a lot of returners. But again, that continuity could do wonders for them night one, as opposed to us, where we're still trying to figure out what we have and who should check in now and who needs to start, who needs longer minutes, all that sort of stuff you're trying to figure out. And again, we also have to remember that 99.9% chance Conference USA is a one big lead, right? So, I mean, we're not playing for an at-large bid. So if we go 7-6 in non-conference, it's not the end of the world. Like, we don't want to do that. Coach McKay doesn't want to do that. We want to win every game. But if we do that, like you said, we look at what happened last year. We looked really good in the non-con. Then we got into conference play and we couldn't figure things out. So I agree with you, Nick. I think it could be a reverse of that. We could have a 7-6, 8-5 type record in the non-con. But hopefully that prepares us for what we'll see in conference play. And I do think we will be, just the makeup of this roster, we will be more prepared in conference play to face some of that. We just got bullied in some of those games, if you remember, in conference play. We just got bullied. I don't think that's going to happen this year.
Got bullied and still had games they should have won, as bad as they were. One quick point, Will. I have this in front of me. Southern Miss, when Liberty played them, they were ranked 283 in KenPom. Ended the year 99. Wow. So, yeah.
That's crazy.
You have to take some of this with a grain of salt early in the year, because you have no idea what these teams are going to look like at the end of the year.
Yeah. John, to your point, as far as could there be some kind of reversal in the way kind of last year kind of shaked out? But, last year we were 1-7 on the road, 6-2 at home. Is there something that, in your opinion, that needs to improve, or do you think just the roster makeup is something that will improve that?
Can you guys hear me still?
Yeah.
Oh, my mic got unplugged for a minute there. I'm sorry, Will. What was your question again? I was trying to plug my mic back in.
Yeah, just saying we were 1-7 on the road last year, 6-2 at home. What needs to improve for us to kind of get better on the road, or do you just think just the roster makeup is something that's going to help that out?
I'm sure that's in conference play, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, hopefully we'll just be better and be able to overcome some of that. But I think it's just part of being in Conference USA. Like, it's tough. Every night it's going to be tough. You go, it's a lot of games, you look down through these KenPom projections, you see a lot of 54%, 52, 62, 38, 42. There's a lot of closely projected games, and home court means so much, especially when you think about the trip to like UTEP and New Mexico State. There were so many teams that got swept last year on that swing. That's just a tough swing. It's a long trip, and you're playing two solid teams back to back. You got elevation to worry about. It's just hard to play on the road, and I think that's more the case in basketball than it is in football. It's just harder to win on the road. That's always been the case. I can remember growing up watching ACC basketball so much is you always would try to win a couple games or steal a couple games on the road and hold serve at home, and that really turned out to be the truth last year in Conference USA play. Probably be the same thing this year. It's just you got to take care of business at home, and you got to try to find spots that you can steal one on the road, because it's going to be tough. And the good thing is, you look at that conference schedule. For your first six, it was a reverse last year, but for the first six are at home. Now, granted, those two on the road, that might be your toughest two road games in conference play all season, playing at Sam Houston and at La Tech. And Western and Middle are both expected to be in the top half of the league, so it's going to be a tough start to the league play. But then you get UTEP and New Mexico State at home, so it's good to have 4 of the first 6 at home. But at the end of the day, you're going to end up with I think you got 18 conference games this year, so it's 9-9 home and away. And maybe I shouldn't say this based on what happened just a few days ago, but I got to say it now. Kind of excited to have Kennesaw State back in the league, home and home with them. I mean, I went down there 2 years ago for both of those games, played down there. Did not have a pleasant experience in either of those trips, but they were competitive games. They're in the second year with their new head coach, so they're kind of on the upswing. A guy that was I think is his last name Petway. He was an assistant at Alabama. So that's going to be a tough 2 games too as well. I think we're probably favored in both of those. I think Kennesaw is going to be one of those teams that you got to watch out for this year too.
I think Kennesaw has our number in everything.
I don't want to talk about it. I shouldn't have brought it up. I'm sorry.
Not this year. We got him. We got him in Petway. You're going down this year. Now, I do think that could be a fun rivalry. Them and Western Kentucky are the two teams that I think eventually will slide into a really nice, somewhat regional-ish rivalry in this very widespread league. Yeah, and John, a really good point by you about, like, I don't know how many road games we have, what the total is, but if you're 5-7 on the road, I think that's a pretty good season. I think you got to get the ASON thought out of your mind where you expect to win almost every road game, because that's just not going to happen. But you look at last year, as bad as the road record ended, they lost 2 games in overtime on the road, and they lost to Western Kentucky by 2 points. Remember the famous should Cleveland have passed or shot? I mean, so yes, I think they have some work to do on the road, but I don't think they were very far away from being what you would hope they can be.
Yeah, what were we, 7-9 in conference play last year? We were so close to being, 9-7, 10-6, and being a 2 or 3 seed. And if you do that and you win one game in the conference tournament, you feel so much different about the way the year went, right? But again, obviously that's not how it went, and you kind of have a bad taste left in your mouth. But I think that's a good thing. Like, we haven't had that as a Liberty basketball program in a long time, really since McKay's first couple of years, maybe not since the Carleek Jones shot against Radford in that Big South championship game. Since then, we dominated the ASUN, those first 3 years, and kind of, let a couple get away from us. And we talked about the Kennesaw. That year was just unfortunate. I mean, Nick, we talked about how, on paper, by KenPom's ratings, that was the best team we've ever had. But unfortunately, we had to play the one team that was at our level that year in Kennesaw in the ASUN. We had to play them on the road in the one game, and so we lost the tiebreaker and had to go play at their place for the championship game and came up just short. But Should be a good year. I'm really looking forward to it. I think we got a chance to be really good once again.
Yeah. Kirby, I'm sorry. Can I give you my nerd stat that I looked up for you today?
Yes.
All right. Effective field goal percentage.
Yes.
We were 34th in the country at 54.3%, which tells me we are a very good shooting team. But I feel like for us to be able to steal a couple on the road last year, which we were not able to do, Achilles heel was free throw shooting.
Yeah,
it was abysmal last year. It was near the bottom in the country. I think if there was a point of emphasis, I mean, that's like the most fundamental thing everybody gets to work on. I just think a lot of it was just luck, honestly. And so I think if that's one of those little things, a couple of little things add up, right? We steal more games on the road than we did last year.
Yeah, Cleveland really struggled at the line. Shiloh was pretty bad at the line.
Yeah,
you look individually up and down. Vince Zan actually wasn't. I mean, so two of the three players that really struggled the most that got a high volume are gone. Matheny was only 68%, which is kind of surprising. I doubt that sticks. I think that was a weird year. He might have had a funk or something. But yeah, I mean, you hope Cleveland. I mean, because like Zach shot 136 free throws last year. No one else shot more than 57. Now, Mr. Aquino, he might get a few as well. I have a feeling people are going to be hacking him. But yeah, you hope that Cleveland's taking some strides there because he definitely had a great ability of getting to the line. But yeah, and I think turnovers were still a problem as well. I think there was just times where Liberty just didn't get a shot off. I mean, when they got shots off, like you mentioned the effective field goal position, they're one of the top teams in the country, definitely the best in the in the conference. But you have to get the shots up. All right, we have the Paradise Jam here. Just quickly kind of looking at that. This is a really good tournament, guys. I mean, there's not a team that's outside of the top 200 in KenPom. I mean, when you have an 8-team field and you don't have one bad team, at least on paper, one of these teams could be abysmal. We don't really know. I mean, but Liberty has a legitimate chance to play Louisiana, who I don't remember. They were pretty well off. And then, I mean, you could play Kansas State and UAB potentially. I mean, you could have like your schedule that people are kind of looking at, and, scoffing at right now. You play UAB and Kansas State. If the bracket shakes out that way, all of a sudden your schedule looks a lot better in the non-conference at the end of the year.
Yeah, and if it shakes out that way, that means we probably won a couple games down there too, which makes you feel pretty good. But also McNeese, I mean, they're just outside the 100, but with Will Wade as their head coach, I mean, I think they're expected to be. I would expect their end of season rating to be much higher than 103. They may be the team to beat in this one. Maybe them and Kansas State, if I had to guess. But really looking forward to that game, the third game. Down in the Virgin Islands against Longwood, traveling all the way down there to get the Lancers. We haven't played them in a while.
Yeah, thankfully this isn't on Flow Hoops either, an ESPN event.
Yeah.
Although the Charleston one is Flow Hoops this year, right? Field 68.
Oh man.
Yeah. Disgusting.
That was the first thing I looked for the Paradise Jam was what channel is it on?
Yeah. Speaking of channels, game 1 of the season is going to be free for everyone. Broadcast being provided by Chatterbox Sports, the company I work for. So I'm pretty excited about that. It's going to be available on, what is it, MyNet? Is that it in Lynchburg?
I believe that's what it is. It's also streaming on YouTube too, I think, for most everyone else, right?
Athletes in Action on YouTube. And then I think it's also streaming on the Game Show Network channel, which I think is available on your Roku if you want to go that route. It's supposed to be in 30 markets on Gray Media, on like MyNet and things like that.
And you're supposed to be there for that one too, right, Nick?
Yeah, I'll be traveling down next Sunday night. My dad's gonna come with me, so yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I think I'm gonna have something to do with helping the score. So if you see the score kind of just magically a couple extra points get thrown on there, I probably better not say this publicly. So something's gonna go wrong, and I'm gonna be like, yeah, that guy. We heard it.
Yeah. You're gonna get to see him in person before maybe like 3 weeks before I get to see him in person.
Yeah, this will be the first time that ever happens.
Yeah, so good for you.
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, this will be a lot of fun. Should be a cool event, and then FAU and Indiana State in the second game. So next time we do a podcast, I'm gonna have Liberty, and then also be able to tell you about FAU and kind of what they look like. Also, gonna get to the Liberty women's team as well. They play in the first game, so that's gonna be a really fun day.
Yeah, the women are supposed to have a good team as well too. They've kind of been unfortunate the last however long since we've been in the ASUN, and then last year, in Conference USA playing, second fiddle. If that's probably not a fair way to say it, but being the second best team in the conference to a really good mid-major team, and FGCU first in the ASUN, and then Middle Tennessee last year, but picked to finish second again, and hopefully that team will be able to challenge once again the Blue Raiders for the conference title.
All right. Last thing I had was just looking at the preseason poll, which I know no one in Liberty would admit it. This is disrespectful. I mean, fifth? Are you kidding me? Like, just Richie, you put head coach Ritchie McKay. It should at least put you on the podium in the top three. This is disrespectful.
Sure.
And there's gonna be some people who look really stupid at the end of the year on this one.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, but programming note, the football podcast will be on tomorrow night, Monday night. So check in. We'll have a lot to talk about from the Kennesaw game. But one thing that we'll talk about there that I think can also be true for the basketball team this year is hopefully the team and the guys play with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. Like, I think that's one thing that Liberty just program wide, really in football and men's basketball specifically, since we covered them so in depth. We've had so much success in both of those sports the last handful of years that I think a lot of both programs have maybe lost that chip, that edge. If you think back to the 2017, 2018, 2019, those early years under McKay, when we were just starting to get this thing going on the right direction, we had those guys with a chip on their shoulder. Lavelle Cabell came in, no other Division I offers, and turned out to be one of the most underrated players we've ever had. And he's also got a really good pro career going on for himself. But I think hopefully after the way the season ended last year, bringing in some new guys, non-D1 guys that you're bringing in too, hopefully they come in with a little bit of that chip on their shoulder, a little bit of an edge, and a little angry. And hopefully this preseason poll, which I don't know if it matters or not, but to the guys, they probably forgot what they've been picked preseason already. But maybe a little bit more fuel to the fire.
Hey, I don't know. It seems pretty fair to me. I don't, the expectations are, it's a new roster, and at times we looked outmatched last year. So I think it's pretty fair, but I like John, I kind of like it because I feel like you kind of have that mentality of an underdog now. I think this is the point now where correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we have anybody on our roster right now that has been to an NCAA tournament now that Kyle and Shiloh are gone. So I kind of like the going into it without the high expectation and surprising a lot of folks at the end of the year.
Yeah, I agree with you, Will. I mean, before the preseason poll came out, I expected to be fourth or fifth. I'll just be honest. Yeah. I just expected that. I mean, Louisiana Tech, Western Kentucky, Sam Houston, I knew those three were going to be ahead of us. And then, UTEP is actually one I thought would be probably ahead of us too. We ended up tied with them for fifth. But again, it's a preseason poll. It doesn't really matter. We'll all forget, in a month or two, what we were picked preseason anyways.
I won't let people forget. I will not let people forget. No, I mean, look, I don't know. I felt like Liberty had a lot of things go wrong last year, and they still finished fourth. I mean, think of how bad at times we felt about this team, and they still finished fourth in Conference USA last year. No chance. No chance they finished fifth or below. Clip it up now. It's in there. It's disrespectful to the coaching staff. It's disrespectful to the team, and I'm not here for it. And I also do not believe for 1 second that they don't know what the pull is, and they are not using this for motivation. I fully think that they're doing the right thing. They're doing the Christian thing. But no, they have this printed in every guy's locker. You're fifth in this conference. They're disrespecting you. And it kind of brings me back to 2020, 2021. Liberty lost everyone. Was what, picked second to Lipscomb? I don't remember. It was Lipscomb. Who cares who it was? And they just ran through the ASON that year, went 11-2. I don't think they're going to run through the Conference USA, but I feel pretty confident that this will be a top 3 team at least in this league.
Kirby took that personally.
I did. I did. I mean, I did. All right. Any final thoughts, fellas?
Go ahead, Will, if you got anything. I got something I'd like to talk about, but you can go first.
Yeah. No, just looking forward to just looking at a new team, essentially. I know we've got some returners, but, a big part of that is going to be the new additions. And, nobody likes the non-D1 things. And I know we always hear about nobody will schedule us or nobody will come to the arena. Part of me believes that maybe just be coaching philosophy or scheduling philosophy. But I don't know. I'm not in those rooms. But don't take those games for granted, because that's when you get to see those guys get meaningful minutes that they might not get, later on in the year, or earlier in the year. So I like those games, even though they're kind of boring. I like to watch some of these guys kind of take up some minutes and just kind of see what they look like.
Those are probably the games where we get to see Caillou the most. So there's going to at least be that intrigue, right?
Well, entertainment, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 10 minutes of Caillou, I'm excited. He's just such a fascinating player to watch.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see Caillou's impact when he gets on the floor this year and see what he has to, you don't have many 7-footers walk through the gym every day, so we'll be interesting to see him. And one funny story about Caillou, I think it was last year before about this time last year. I might have said this before, but I got on I was on campus, and here comes a 7+ foot kid, Asian kid on a sidewalk on a scooter, motorized scooter. I was like, you don't see that every day. So definitely pulling for Caillou. Hope he has, he's able to figure things out and has a good career here. Well, last thing I'd like to share is just wanted to, before the season starts. Well, first of all, thank you guys, Nick, Will. You guys do a great job. Looking forward to continuing with this show throughout the season. What we're going to try to do it like every other week. Nick, is that kind of the plan right now?
Yeah, we'll have to feel it out. Conference play or non-conference play is so weird with the schedule. Like we're not gonna try to do a show to recap, Central Pennsylvania. So probably about every 2 weeks. Once we get into conference play, we'll maybe try to have a more set every 2 weeks. But we'll kind of have to figure it out around when the games and when there's kind of good times that are interesting to talk about. But yeah.
Yeah. So looking forward to that. But I just wanted to, before we get into the season, just kind of give a tip of the hat to Coach McKay. I mean, you can't say enough about the job he's done at Liberty. Certainly on the floor, like the results, the records speak for themselves. I mean, we were the three of us, we all went to school at Liberty pretty much around the same time period. And just before we got there, we were pretty much a laughing stock of Division I basketball. Not very good from the late 90s up through, McKay's stint here. So he's done a great job. I mean, you look at all the records, and we've tweeted some of them out, championships and Ken Pom finishes, net ranking finishes, RPI finish, all of that. I mean, what he's done is simply remarkable. And he's certainly on the Mount Rushmore of Liberty coaches in all sports. And in my opinion, he's the best Liberty basketball coach we've ever had. I don't know if you can really argue that, to be honest with you, but more than that, what he means for the program, for the university, you just can't put it into words. Like, he's a guy, he had no ties to Liberty. He was a West Coast guy before he came here the first time, and before he went up to Charlottesville and came back. But he is a Liberty guy now, through and through. And I say that now, I mean, you never know what's going to happen, what's around the corner. But he is, if you talk to him, and I've had many conversations with him, he is a guy that he gets us as Liberty people. He knows what the naysayers say about us, and he goes to bat for us. And the way he carries himself and leads this program is amazing, in between the lines, but also off the court as well too. And also the program he's built, the type of guys that he brings into this program, second to none. I mean, I've been around him a lot. I've been around a lot of these different teams, and no, not saying anything or taking anything away from them, but the guys, you hear from Colin and Caden, and the way that they are on here is the exact same way they are in person. They're great guys. I have close friends that have had, some of these guys babysit their kids. I mean, that's the type of young men they are. I don't know there's many Division I basketball programs that you have multiple guys. You'd be comfortable letting them watch your kids, babysit your kids, but Liberty's got several of them. So just wanted to say that before we get into the season. And again, we're going to break down the games. We want to win. Coach McKay wants to win, and we'll criticize when we need to criticize. But what he's done for this program, this university, cannot be overstated.
All of God's people said,
Amen. Yeah, no, well said, John. I mean, look, last year was disappointing, but last year was the kind of season we wouldn't even sniff prior to McKay 2.0. I mean, again, finished fourth in Conference USA, a league that was so much more difficult than anything. And credit to McKay. Completely went out of the box this offseason. I don't think this is really his most comfortable route, is bringing in a whole bunch of transfers. I feel like he really went out of his comfort zone. The one fairest criticism about this Liberty team was that they didn't utilize the transfer portal as well. Certainly cannot say they did not try on the transfer portal this offseason. They went as hard as, I don't know, probably about anyone that didn't. They didn't even need to. It's not like they lost their whole roster where they had to go crazy into the transfer portal. Credit to Coach McKay for that. Give him some grace early in the year if there's some growing pains. But man, I'm excited. I am really excited to see what this team looks like coming into March 2025, because I think this team has a chance, and it's a chance to be a really, really special team.
Agree. Amen again.
No, I agree. And I also agree with your point about, Coach McKay being a little slow. If you want to call it late to the game, you can, getting into the transfer portal. I agree. He didn't back down from that. He knew that he needed to upgrade the length, athleticism of his roster. And I think he did that. It's just a matter of time to see how those pieces all fit together and just how good this team can be. But sitting here on, in late October before the season tips off, I feel good and confident about it. And like you said, Nick, I think we'll be right in the mix in Conference USA with a chance to cut down nets. But it's a tough league. You never know whoever's playing well those 3 days down in Huntsville, Alabama, which, if you have a chance, go ahead and start making plans now to get down there. Hopefully Liberty would be there more than one game this year. I think they will be. You never know. But it should be a really competitive 3 days, and you can see both the men and the women tournament play. A lot of basketball in a short week. So make plans now. But no, really looking forward to following the team this year.
All right. Well, Will, appreciate you. It's great to see you as always, my friend. John, love all your coverage. I hope the football season doesn't end early, but I'm excited when it ends, because then we get more of you on, and I love talking Liberty basketball with you, and really appreciate all the hard work that you do. There is no one that's doesn't do this full time for any school that does a better job than Jon Manson. So we really appreciate you and all the coverage that we get. Well, let's see if we could try to do in between Valpo and Seattle, since I'll have it in person. I know that it's like election week, so it's going to be a weird week, but let's see if we could do a show sometime that week before Seattle, talk about how the Valpo game went. I'll try to give you my thoughts from a firsthand experience, and can't wait for the season to get started. All right, fellas, for Jason Porter Real Estate, shout out to all of our sponsors. Jason Porter, be sure to check out any of your real estate needs. Ironclad Coffee, the best coffee in the biz. Flames Rising. We didn't get a chance to run that ad because McKay was early and threw everything off, ruined the whole night. No, I'm just kidding. We're like, come on, we'll take the extra minutes if we can get them. But Flames Rising, of course, be sure to help out with that if you are able to. So, all right, well, I'm going to shut up. Have a great night. Have a great week, and go Flames.